Hello, everyone. Welcome back at the Rational Investor. Oh, it's always fun when Brian is not around and I can do that like that. So welcome, guys. Of course, I'm not alone. I've got Kevin backing me up, and we also got Joshua on the call today. So we're going to do the same format as we do every week, except that we swapped Brian for Joshua. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing good. Good, Stuart. I'm doing great, actually.
What
So,
kind of temperatures are you dealing with?
well, it's summertime in the desert, so it'll probably be in the high 90s today, maybe. It was really hot
Oh,
yesterday. Maybe like a little less.
90, yeah, and that's
Oh,
Fahrenheit,
yeah, of
right?
course, that's Fahrenheit, yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a 32 degrees Celsius, I believe,
Yeah,
something like
something
that.
like that.
And you, Joshua? Holding, holding, okay?
Yep, everything's good here, no complaints. But yeah, it's hotter than blazes here during the day, so I can understand.
Yeah. And before the daily brief kicked in, and these are some private details, but the reason that I'm not having my camera on is just because I'm not wearing shirts. It's so freaking hot here. So today, let's see what temperature that is. But it was 100 Fahrenheit basically. So I'm not used to that. I'm not.
Whoops, did we just lose a Stuart?
Must be the heat.
Yeah, he's right there. Stuart, I think you're on mute. Something just happened.
Yeah, something just happened, but I'm back. Sorry for that, guys.
Yeah.
So let me first start off with the site update. Over the past week, and it's a bit of the same update as every week, but we've been squeezing bugs on the screeners. But mostly we're focusing on stability issues. So if you guys do have screeners created now, you should get a summary email each day with the results of your screener on a regular basis. And we did fix some other issues, and maybe I should present my screen.
Yeah, I hate to interrupt, but we lost your screen share, so.
Exactly. There we go. And we also squeeze some other bugs and suggestions. For example, that if you have a screener result on Monday, you don't get the same screener result listed again the next day on Tuesday. So all kind of improvements. And I saw this. Actually, I really appreciated the shout out this morning, which was from and I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but from Paz. He said that he was finding some absolute gems playing around with the engulfing pattern and the key reversal pattern. So yeah, I mean that makes my day to read something like that. And there are still bugs, and I think most bugs we know what they are and where they are and how to fix them. But it's a matter of time that we're fixing them. One of my how Brian likes to call it minions, my programming buddies, is on a 2 week holiday, so I have a bit less capacity over the coming 2 weeks, but we should still be able to move forward nicely. I do saw a lot of questions in the lounge when we were talking about screeners, about where can I find them, how do I create a screener. So I wanted to take use of this opportunity to quickly go over the screener very quick. And I know most of you guys have already seen it, but I still would like to show it for the newer people. And I see that Will is asking, does TY have a recruiting board for helping on these kind of projects? We don't really have a recruiting board, but if you are looking for a job and you have a specific set of skills, then just drop me a message, and we can always see if we have something. To be honest, we are looking for like longer term relationships as well, and not in every area of expertise we can always use extra help. So, but yeah, open. I mean, we like to give jobs to people from our community, of course, compared to outside, because they do know our business and they do know what we're doing and what we're standing for, and that we're not a scammy site and all that. But I'm feeling I'm going off a tangent there, like Ryan would say, like ranting off. So back on topic, screeners. So on your dashboard, you would have on the left-hand side screeners, and you see this. And UI/wise, UX-wise, this is not ideal, because something, for example, that you don't see here is that on the left-hand side, you have the bull screeners, and on the right-hand side, you have the bear screeners. So functionality that's coming up is that we simply show some titles here, and that you have an up and down arrow so that you can reorder your screeners. For example, if you have this price EMA 13 cross and this one, you want them located probably next to each other, because that makes it a bit more easier on a daily basis to compare the results and also get a feeling with the market ref, basically. Because if you have two screeners, one screening for W's and the other screening for M's and some other indicators, you always get a good sense of where the market is heading based on the number of results you have on a daily basis for either one of the screeners. So that's something that's coming up, for example. Anyway, let's say that you go to My Screeners and you see this is totally blank. What you can do on the top right-hand side is New Screener. And here you see User Manual. I listed that title, but basically it's not really a user manual. It's more like brain farts that I think that everyone can find some value in when creating screeners. But it's still very, very small. So also, if you are a native English speaker, which I'm clearly not, and you're really into screeners, I could really use some help in describing some of the functionality that we have. And I'm happy to explain the functionality to any one of you guys. But to create an English plain story from it, I feel like it's a bit hard for me. Also because I have a lot of knowledge about how this works internally, because I've been building it. So it's a lot harder for me to understand that other people might have difficulties understanding what we've built here. But anyway, you give your screener a name. Let's go with test again. That's a very bad name, so we should do something more useful. For example, Devo. Screener. You can select anything else here. You can select if it should hunt for long or short ideas. It's just a label. It doesn't do anything functionality-wise. Oh, there we go. Then we pick a time period. At the moment, we only have daily and weekly. But if the screener keeps behaving as stable as it is over the next 2-3 weeks, I will be adding 4 hours here. And if all that goes well, we will be moving down to like 1 hour, 15 minutes maybe, something like that. But we'll see. It will also depend on how the application will be behaving. Yeah. Okay, so we do daily. We add a description about what our screener is for. For example, Devo, we're looking for W's in price, OBV, and RSI, I believe. Then we have a tag filter. This actually does more than just being a label, because with this you can select or narrow down the results you're getting. But as well here we have some gotchas that we still need to iron out. For example, if you select crypto, you would suspect that you get all crypto assets. But at the moment, crypto stands for more like an index Brian created with Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and maybe just the top 5 picks of crypto. So it's better to go with the exchange like Binance or Kraken. So you can add that there if you want to just screen for crypto. For now, just go with Binance. And then, of course, do you want to receive notifications, yes or no? Default, you can see it's listed or it's set to no, but you can set it to yes. And then you should get a Rocket Chat message each day and an email. Later on, we will also add additional filtering and additional subscription notification models, which means that you can subscribe to a screener that I create. So I will be creating the Devo here, for example. And in the next 2-3 weeks, I expect that I can give you guys a link to the screener, and you select follow or receive notifications, and you will get same notifications as that I'm getting from the same screener. So then if everyone wants a Devo, we don't have to create it 1,000 times. We do have presets, which makes it a little bit easier sometimes to get started. But you can also go from an indicator basis. So at the moment, we would like to scan for W in price, OBV, and RSI. And I'm going to make it a little bit, I'm going to make it a bit of a journey till I get to the final screener, just to show you guys some of the reasoning that I did and why you can use groups, for example. So we said we're looking for W's in price, OBV, and RSI. So price, okay, you can type here, so you don't have to scroll this. So you can do price. And of course, I know what we're looking for. So I know I can search for double bottom or close. Oh yeah, I know what I'm looking for. There we are. Price double bottom. And you see long score, medium score, and short score. And it's like, what the heck are those 3 options? But basically, it defines the length of the W structure. So a long score will be okay if a W formed over 20 bars maybe, or 30 bars. But a short score, on the other hand, wants a W within 7 bars. So let's see if we can see the difference between those two. So last price, double bottom, long score equals 2, and then you can fill in a number. But it's a score. And what we need to know about the score, and this is something that should be in the manual, of course, is that it's a number ranging from 0 to 1. And maybe I should make this 0 to 100, thinking about it, or 0 to 10, something like that. But at the moment, it's 0 to 1. So what you could say is I want a double bottom that's greater than 0.8. And that would give you very crisp, or should get you crisp double bottoms on the long structure. So what this means is that basically it's rating each W structure that it sees. Like, how beautiful is the W? Because it's sometimes a kind of an art form where you're like, well, I kind of wish that that second leg was a bit higher than that first one compared to where it's positioned now. Or you're like, well, that W is so squeezed or put in an angle that I can't really consider it a W. Basically, the lower your threshold, the more uglier the structures you will get that you're okay with. So I went for 0.8. Let's see if I got any results. I do. Let's see if the image works. That's always exciting. Nope, this one doesn't work. Let's go with this one. And these, for example, is on the list to fix. That they always work. Sometimes they don't seem to work for crypto. So somewhere in here, and you can see it at the bottom, it detected a double bottom structure. It's confirmed at this blue bar basically, and then it can happen anywhere between like this range. So my hunch is looking at this, and I would have to look in the database to see a clear double bottom, but somewhere in here it confirmed. Let's go back to price double bottom, and you can see it's not that clear. So let's go to a short period. I always like them to be short. The price double bottom, it's a bit more clear if we go that route. 0.8, let's try again. So now we're looking for a more narrow W structure, which should be a bit easier to spot on an image. There we go. So you can see that it saw this as a double bottom, a confirmed double bottom. And just glazing at the image, I can see that it probably is a double bottom. Like down, up, down, confirm. So this is a narrow double bottom. And you can also go for a medium double bottom, of course, 0.8. And if you get too many results, you can up the number, and if you get less results, you can scale the number down. So here is another one. Oh, it's the same one as that we had last time. But basically, it saw a medium bottom here somewhere. And it's looking at tails and wicks as well. I don't clearly see it myself here, because this would be an unconfirmed double bottom for me. But I will check that one as well, why it shows one on the long and the medium structure size. This one is more clear, like this is a medium, so then it would see this as a double bottom structure that confirmed. And you can do the same trick. So let's move this down, because I'm adding conditions on RSI. So we're going to do an RSI 14 double bottom. Let's go with a short score, and we're going to do an OBV double bottom short score, greater than 0.5, 0.5. So now basically we created, we don't have any results. Let's do this one. Probably we won't get any results either now. But basically we created a very, simple Devo screener. But it has some limitations. First of all, the double bottoms do need a score of 0.5, which is not like super tight. But you can see that because we added these conditions, you can see the double bottom in price, which is valid. Here is the RSI plotted. You can see the double bottom in the RSI, and the plotting in the OBV still drops. There's an issue with that. That's on our bug to-do list as well. But I'm pretty sure that there was a double bottom here on the OBV as well that it picked up. So this way you can make your own Devo screener. But one of the issues that we have with this current screener is that, as you see, that these signals need to come in all at the same time. But often you see that you have a double bottom on RSI or price, and maybe 5 candles later you have a double bottom on some other indicator, and you want some margin basically for that to be allowed. So what you then can do is, instead of doing this, you can use H. And what is H? Where is it? H. Or do I have it just for divergence? Oh yeah, I just have it for the divergence. That's true. But it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's see. We remove the OBV and we add the MACD divergence. And also, guys, if you're missing indicators or functionality, just let me know, then I can add them. Okay, so we want a MACD divergence, and this is H. And what this means is that we want a divergence that's confirmed. And if I fill in 10 here, it needed to be confirmed this candle, which is the last candle, or a maximum of 10 candles back. And if you say, okay, I want a divergence, but it needs to confirm within 3 candles, or it had to be confirmed within the last 3 candles, you can make it 3. And then greater than should be less than or equal to. So now it would hunt for a MACD divergence in the last candle, the candle before that, or the candle before that. So the last 3 candles, if somewhere there a MACD confirmed, then that's good enough for us. So it shows us peak USD. Let's see if that image loads. I guess it will, because it's not crypto. And you see that MACD is not plotted either. I think it's something with line charts that's sometimes happening. But I'm pretty sure we had a divergence there, and the W confirmed there, and we had the W in the RSI as well. Now, if you want to go a bit further, what I did, for example, and I'm going to hop back to screeners, I created a Devo with location. And this one is a bit more complicated because I created groups. And with groups, you can see that I'm okay with an RSI double bottom on the long score, on the medium, or on the short. And the same with OBV, the same with price, but I also added in location. how I added in location. In this case, I wanted the last closing price to be less or equal to the SMA 200 times 0.8. And that basically means that you're using the SMA indicator as a location tool. You can also use FIPS, but the SMA 200 is nice. And I added a condition that I want the closing price to be greater than the open price. That way we're only scanning for green candles and we're not looking for red candles. So let's see. This is a Devo that's a bit more okay what kind of structures came in, just because then I have a bit more results that I can look through a daily basis. So here it gave a nice idea, and yeah, so you can see the small W, and this is something that you could trade. My hunches, and I should actually see the SMA 200. And this is also a small bug that I know how to get around. It's only plotting indicators if I assign a value to them. So I'm a bit cheating here, but if I do SMA 200 not equals to 1,000, which is always true, it shouldn't change my results. But at the same time, we should now be able to actually see the location. So let's see if the image pops up. Here we go. You can now see that the moving average 200 is located over there. So we're now scanning for stocks that have that 20% distance to the moving average 200. And you can fill in whatever, right? I mean, you can also do like half, maybe very extreme. Let's see if we get something. That's a bit too extreme. 6. Oh, 6. Nope. 0.7. Nope. I was a bit too extreme already, I think, with 0.8. But basically what it's doing is what you can read there. So it takes a closing price and it compares it with the calculation of doing the SMA 200 value times 0.8. And the reason that I created groups over here is that I'm okay with any of these double bottoms and I just make the condition or. So then it goes like, it starts above and it says, okay, if, or it shows in this group. So if one of these conditions is true, okay, next group. And because we have an and here, and this is the top level, and one of these conditions is true, okay, next, and one of these conditions is true, because this is also or. And 3 times and. So you can really nest stuff and go pretty wild. For example, also the, I don't know if I have it here. No, this was just a little test. On the TOI screeners, the idea will be that you can follow those. I created an L-Tangonator, but it doesn't have any results yet. But anyway, there's a lot of possibilities that you can do with the screeners, but it really lacks a clear manual. So if anyone says, okay, I really want to use those screeners, and I'm happy to write a manual. In exchange, I will I will explain everything you need to create your perfect screener, and add some extra functionality if you need something. So feel free to reach out in that case. And next year, because we already have the data, besides technical analysis, we will also add fundamental analysis and the possibility to mix those two. So then you will be able to scan also on PE ratio and all that stuff. Another thing is that at the moment, you only have daily and weekly. But if you start with the daily, which is your default screening period, you can still say, okay, this location, I don't want this to happen on the daily, but I want this to happen on the weekly. So at the moment, only daily and weekly work. But by setting this, you can basically have a different interval per condition. So that's also pretty cool. Maybe back to trading. This was trading, but let's go back to the Bitcoin chart and the Nasdaq. I have a very small short position on the Nasdaq at the moment, from a signal that came in last week, and I'm just in waiting mode. So I took the signal. Let me remove some stuff. Here, basically, I set an order at this level, which got me in last week, and my stop is over here, and I'm just in the mode of waiting at the moment. But things do look okay, but we'll see how this plays out. The risk reward ratio is there, so I took the setup last week. As for Bitcoin, last week I was full of the entire CRO MCO stuff. A small update: all my MCO is swapped for CRO, and I totally expected CRO to collapse to the ground, but actually it's holding up pretty nicely still, considering what happened. In USD terms, let's see. Oh, that's a bit of a wonky chart. Hit BTC maybe. Yeah, you can see that we're basically back at the level where we were last week. So all my MCO is now swapped to CRO, and I'm getting a daily payout, and that daily payout I'm just converting as soon as possible to Bitcoin each day. So I'm kind of dollar cost averaging Bitcoin to CRO now, because my regular Bitcoin dollar cost averaging program stopped because Bitcoin is above 10,000. So I'm still following that. Speaking about Bitcoin, we did have a nice W in the rally. The MACD is still positive, although it is going for the zero line, which is what I'm really looking for, like these moves up and down, these crosses of the zero line. If you're interested in that as well, we do have a screening condition for that. To quickly show it, is that you could do something like MACD histogram, this one, crossed up, 0. So then it would basically screen for all stocks and crypto assets. And you can see that we have 174 entries where the MACD flipped positive to the upside of the zero line. It's a bit much, so let's also add a filter here for just Binance, and then we get 87 results. So this is how the filtering works, and how you can also use crossed up and crossed down things. Back to Bitcoin. For me, there's not much to do here. Like I have dollar cost average below 10, and I'm not touching sell. I'm not going to sell Bitcoin up to 20K range. So I think this will be a couple of boring Bitcoin update weeks from my perspective. What's interesting to note is that this range is still very wide. So what that tells me is that I'm still expecting a lot of volatility both ways. And this wouldn't be my ideal situation to start hunting setups to either the bull or the bear side. And the bull side, I mean, on the daily, we are overbought. We can stay overbought for a long time, of course. But there's not much to do for me here. Maybe let's take a look at the lower time frames. And 15 minutes is maybe a bit too much. So let's see the 4 hour. And for me, this would be a bearish sign if we break that midline of the RSI and then confirm that M on this RSI structure. I expect that the MACD would flip then as well. And that would be a bearish setup for me. Now let's see on the 1 hour. We're just hanging on that midline as well. This is crossing. The MACD is already flipped negative. So on the 1 hour, I would be inclined to take a short setup, way more than the bull side. Yeah, and that's about it. What I wanted to update you guys about. So we're just moving on with the screeners. One more thing is that you have beneath your profile, when you click it, you have a item notifications. Here you can send or set email on a global. It's a global setting if you want to receive email or chat notifications for your screener. So if you just want to receive chat or just want to receive email, you can toggle them here. So you don't get both notifications. For now, in this testing beta phase, I would like to receive as much notifications as I can so that I know that the systems are working. So next week, or maybe the week after that, I hope to update you guys that you can subscribe to some TOI screeners that I will create and fill further. Yeah. So if nobody else has any questions about this part, I'm happy to give the floor to Joshua, and then I will be getting some extra pancakes.
Cool. Man, that's awesome.
It was a lot of information overload, maybe, but
No, I mean, the screeners are amazing. I hope everybody realizes how powerful this tool is going to be.
It's a long way from the WordPress site, huh?
It's a very long way from the WordPress site. And also for TOI, basically, we also want, I mean, Brian only has that many hours a day, and the same goes with Julian. And we have a lot of members in different time zones to cover. So we already have basically the signals from Alex and Sanne being posted to Rocket Chat. But for me, this is a step to the setup automation as well, where we can just post all setups that are coming in automatically in Rocket Chat at any time, on any time frame, on any market. So we will definitely be moving towards that.
Nice work, Sjord.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, I'm looking forward to the PineScript part here. So.
Oh yeah, I don't think you're going to be too impressed with PineScript, sir. That's hilarious. Very cool. Well, then I'll go ahead and present.
Well, to be honest, PineScript evolved a lot. I mean, when we first started working on this, the PineScript was like nothing. You couldn't really assign a variable or do loops or whatever. It was just a bit of fun to have something align plotted on a static level, or maybe a bit of calculations. But I must say it's getting more powerful every month. So it has some very cool stuff. And by all means, if you do have a setup,
that's definitely a lot of value.
Yeah, and if you have a setup that's working, I mean with Sanne, with the software that Sanne created, one of our members here as well, Kairos, you can totally let it, for example, signal to the Rocket Chat rooms or create your own bot trading away. You don't have to do anything with 3 commas anymore if you're a bit tech savvy. And Joshua, I mean, you have just been deep diving into PineScript, I think, right?
Yeah, it's been like 9 months now at this point.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
that's where women deliver a baby.
I feel like I've been trying to squeeze blood out of a rock, but yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to hop and give the mic to you.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Let's see here.
Well,
unless that was a bit.
This is a nice day to just get into some tech stuff.
All right. So it says I'm presenting now. Just make sure you can see that good. All right, very cool. So I'll make this full screen. So I put together a couple of slides a couple weeks ago, like maybe 2 weeks ago. Brian and Kiran asked me to come on and speak to the level 2ers. If you're not familiar with the TRI education program, we spend a module on algos, which is essentially PineScript, and an introduction to Brian's DI. So that's like the 3 thumbs or Uber Bull, Uber Bear type signaling system that he built a while ago. Really good jumping off point, I think, from a PineScript and algo standpoint. So what I did is I just kind of took that information and polished it up a little bit for the rest of the community, just in case anybody's interested. So if somebody has zero knowledge about what PineScript is, it's a programming language. It's similar to something like a Python or JavaScript, but it's proprietary to TradingView specifically. So if you have a programming background, like somebody like Sjord, PineScript, well, it, like he said, it has actually been getting better. Version 4 actually is, you know, fairly feature rich compared to like version 1 and 2. Version 3, they started to bring it a little bit. But yeah, the guys running the show over there at TradingView, these Pinecoders guys, there's some really sharp people, and they're working to make it as robust and flexible as possible. And I think they're doing a really good job of it, actually. But just to understand its purpose, like when it was built, or when it was created, I suppose. So it was designed to be just a lightweight language, and it had two like core components. Is one is just creating indicators, so something like a Willy. So it's like Williams percentage R, and you can modify it, and you could layer an EMA on it or something, right? Or like an RSI, or an RSI with a histogram or something like that. So, you know, step one was, you know, develop indicators that can be used in the trade setup process. Okay, cool. The second point, or core reason for building it or creating it, was for strategies. And I think Johnny Salmon was saying not that long ago that this was like the big takeaway from him, where he's been able to save a bunch of time because he's been able to use strategies through PineScript to back test, you know, potential setups, etc. You know, and help him be more profitable with the whole trade setup process. So again, it's indicators and strategies. Those are the two, you know, 1 and 2 there. And understand that PineScript is actually cloud-based. So it's, you know, all this is running and housed on the TradingView servers. So it's not like, you know, a true client-side programming language. You know, so it, by design, it's not a high-end language. And this is why somebody like Sjord, you know, hates it in quotes, right? So I'm sure he doesn't hate anything other than the heat. But for somebody that has the expectation of, you know, very robust high-end language, PineScript by design is not that. So if people have the expectation of that when they get into it, they're going to be disappointed. And I think that's probably why there's been some backlash and people talking poorly about it just historically, is their expectations were kind of not aligned. So that's just a quick overview there. I put together a couple things that I found value in when I was going through this journey on getting up to speed with Pine. One thing I will call out is that if you dive into PineScript or coding, but you don't have a solid trading, like you don't know how to trade setups manually, if you don't have that core foundation or those core concepts really dialed in, then you're going to be at a disadvantage when you get to the coding part of it. And Brian was actually telling me, because I have a technology background for the last 16, 17 years. I work in the data center, and I build like private and hybrid cloud solutions for my clients. So it's somewhat technical. I've had to do programming, you know, on various different levels over the years, but I'm not a programmer, right? But having gone through the TRA education program, and Brian kept telling me, like, I know you're going to want to move towards this algo stuff. Just put the brakes on. Do levels 1 through 3. Get learned up, as he says. And by doing that, I was actually able to be way more productive and efficient or effective with the work that I've been doing. So that's just one thing that was, you know, kind of a huge. You know, Brian had mentioned it several times. He threw out the red flag to me several times, and I listened to his advice when he gives it, and I totally think that that's a huge takeaway there. So at least know what you're doing from a manual standpoint before you kind of dip your toes into this. The next thing I would say is more of like a fundamental or foundational thing. Is there's this book, and it was referred to me by the Pinecoders guys, and they've been building you know, automated trading systems and stuff for like upwards of 20 years, this guy was saying, or this guy specifically was. And it's Trading Systems and Methods, the 6th edition by Kaufman. What's cool is this book actually has a lot of overlap to the TRA education program. So, you know, this guy referred me to this book. He considers it the Bible in this field. So I'm just mentioning that here. It's like a textbook. It's a very dry read. It's very painful, but there's a lot of good information in there. And they talk about gaps in the book, so I love it naturally. So yeah, so from a, you know, jumping off point, go to the Pinecoder site. There's a whole roadmap there on learning Pine. The user guide and the reference guide are going to be crucial. And then I put some lists of free tutorials, and there's one that was paid off Udemy, it's like $50, but all, you know, valuable. People will want to kind of dip through. And I'll post this presentation in the lounge after this, so you guys can fish those links out if you want. Let's see here. So from a real basic standpoint, we're going to be using PineScript, you know, and essentially give us tools or help us with our edge, you know, in trading setups. The one, like, it took me a while to learn this, actually. I didn't know this right out of the gate, but before starting, you know, any type of coding project, we're going to need to plan it first. And, you know, how do you plan that? Some people just write in words, like what the setup's supposed to do, or step by step. The thing that really helped me with the stuff I've been working on this year is this UML diagram. So this is actually the I want to be a day trader model that Brian came up with last year, I think it was. And then Peter Arnold actually started doing a lot of really cool work with PineScript using this model, and inspired me to finally kind of get the lead out and check under the hood of this whole PineScript thing. So I had been trading that I want to be a day trader set up manually, so I understood it intimately, inside and out, and how it works, and, you know, what to expect, etc. So I thought that was a good place to try to transition from manual trading to eventually get to the automated side of things. But again, if we don't plan something, then it's going to be just a nightmare. It's going to be mismanaged. You're going to go on a million different directions, and you're just not going to be that effective. So plan the outcome, know what you're working towards. And I think this UML kind of approach is perfect because it's modular. You can just go, you know, step one, you know, check, check, check all the way down the list. And you know, it's either yes or no, like, does it go? And then it moves on to the next one. So the thing with this that I thought was really cool is when there are bugs and you need to do troubleshooting, you're really only focusing on one little part of it. Like, let's just say checkpoint 1, for example. You know, we'll use the analogy of how to eat an elephant. It's just one bite at a time. This is kind of that same type of idea. So if we can break it down into manageable bits, for me anyway, if I tried to wrap my head around this whole thing from a real high level perspective, there's just way too many nuances and variables involved to really keep your head on straight. So planning was something that was huge. And then understand that in PineScript, there's really two types, I guess, of code in Pine. It's going to be scripts or strategies. It's the study function or the strategy function is the terminology they use. So there's only two, study or strategies. And then within that, there is overlay is true or false. So what that actually means is that, so like moving averages, it overlays this script, quote unquote, over the chart. And the same thing with the strategy, it would behave the same. So something like a moving averages would be over the price chart or over the line or candles, right? Something like an RSI uses the overlay equals false, which means it gets its own little indicator window. So those are just some basic, some terminology stuff that once you dig into it, you'll figure out. Let's see here. So I put together like a list of like the most important components or the biggest takeaways I got. So just understand that there's 3 main sections. So you're going to have like what I consider the first section. It's going to be these variables and inputs. Inputs are something that's going to be like where you can go into the settings of the script. It gives it some flexibility from a user standpoint. So instead of a 14-period RSI, you make it you make the length the user input, and it could be, they can change it to 7-period kind of on the fly. So it gives them flexibility there, which is good. So after the variables and inputs, and there's going to be logic, and then the last one's going to be the plotting, which is like the view and the display. One of the cool features or improvements anyway in version 4 is the PineScript guys are trying to do, as they develop the code, they're trying to make it more feature rich. And one of the things that they're trying to do is with the ability to display, to draw things on a chart. So that's actually getting, I mean, they're making pretty good progress with that, I think, in version 4. And the rumor mill, whatever, what they were saying was that, this is a direction that they're going to continue to push forward. So we might get some more robust, options in the future with that, which would be pretty cool. And then another thing that was a huge kind of eye opener, and with the whole automated trading stuff came into super important for me, is understanding the scope of things. So there's the global scope, and then there's the non-global scope. So in PineScript, this script or code is ran on every single candle. And when you read the user admin guide, it goes into a fair bit of detail on that, just to understand on how it runs. So what global scope does is it pulls it outside of this running on every single candle and makes it into, a global, so a top down, and it applies to everything, right? So that was something that was very useful once I kind of understood that and understand how to work with that. It helped me a lot with trying to get the I want to be a day trader stuff automated. A gotcha that you could walk into is called repainting. And what that means is that something like an EMA, it recalculates every candle, right? So in theory, something that was potentially crossed, if you have an EMA relationship stuff, something that was crossed last candle, this candle could have, uncrossed potentially, or vice versa. So there's 6 things to be aware of. And again, I'll just refer you back to the user guide for that. There's a whole section in there about repainting. So just, like Brian and his, in the courses, he says, hint, 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 this is a question on the final exam. The repainting thing is, that's like a hint, 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 like just be aware of that, because the more that you can avoid those 6 things that could lead to repainting, the better off, that you're going to be long-term. So anyway, the next thing we'll probably kind of need to know or just be aware of is the execution model of things. And with PineScript, they kind of look at historical, and then there's also the real-time bars. So anything not the candle right now that's going on is going to be historical. So the way that they process it, especially if you're doing something like a strategy and back testing on historical bars, those results are typically not going to be 100% exact how they're going to be in a real-time bar, especially if we go down to the lower time frames. Now, how does that affect the outcome? Probably not that much, but it's just something that you need to be aware of and factor in, so you don't get caught with your pants down, figuratively, as they say. And then for debugging, there's a data window, and when I walk through a couple things, I'll show you guys where that's at, but it's below. So in the upper right, it's going to be watch lists, and then the alarms or create events, and then the third one's actually data window. And what you can do is you can put some completely transparent plots in the code, but then in the data window, it'll actually show you the output or the reading for that variable or whatever you're working with. And that for debugging was, super useful. So I'll throw that out there. And then again, before even diving into all this, if you actually want to achieve, a profitable outcome, or you want to be effective at it, you're going to need some sort of foundational understanding of the tools and strategies, how they work, in the trade setup process. And there's a thing in IT that we use, it's GIGO, so garbage in, garbage out. If you don't really have that foundational understanding, your outcomes is going to be, probably lacking for what you're expecting or hoping for, right? So like the next step from just building strategies and helping save time and back testing and building a couple of cool little useful tools, the next step would be, the whole time freedom thing. And, crypto's 24/7, doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, that type of deal. But the one thing to keep in mind is, I think, well, maybe not everybody remembers it, but there was a coin called Z Classic. I think it was Z Classic anyway. And there was like, it was a rogue algo. So don't think about, for me, like, to be honest, when I first thought about automated trading, I was like, oh my God, there's just like dollar signs in my eyes. And that was before I really understood how to trade manually and how to run, my quote unquote small business of trading. So don't think dollar signs in your head. It's not how much you can make, it's how much you can lose and how quickly that's possible. And we'll use the Z Classic example as a perfect analogy. It's extremely risky. Trading in itself is extremely risky, not easy. So we needed to approach it as such. So some tools used for automated trading is going to be something like an auto view. And what that does is that interfaces the alerts with TradingView and then makes API calls to the various exchanges that they support. Another option would be 3commas, Profit View, and that's all integrated with TradingView specifically. And then the next step, so again, PineScript and TradingView was not meant, like this, by design, it was not created for the purpose of automated trading. So it's kind of like the minor league from a baseball analogy. We can get it to work and we can, it's a tool that can be effective, but it's not how it was, it's not its purpose, not its design by, out of the gate. So there are professional tools, and that would be something like, well, I guess something like Sjord's built here at TRI. Like, to be honest, in the future, I see that I'm going to run this model, not even on any of this here, but, through what Sjord's building, which would be amazing. But, the big league stuff is MetaTrader. So that's, MQL4, MQL5 is the programming, the language, the name of it. And then there's also Sierra charts, and I use Sierra charts for my harmonic setups that I trade manually, but they also have automated trading features, which I haven't had a chance to dive into. Once I get this auto view stuff really nailed down and running, then I'm going to kind of branch out to some of the next steps for me, but I haven't gotten there yet. So same thing with when we trade stuff manually with forward testing and back testing. We need to do the same with automated trading. Just go slow. You need to be confident that the code that you've written does what you expect it to do. And there's so many different nuances and variables and possibilities, etc., that for me anyway, like the whole slow and steady approach, it just takes time to convince your subconscious of all this. And then also give it time to uncover the various bugs. Like last night, I actually just uncovered another bug where if it hits the break-even level and then slams back down into the stop at scratch level, it's ignoring that. So it's little things like that where, if you don't do the ample back and forward testing, then you're not going to really have the confidence, I think, that you would want to have something like this just run automated 24/7, and you go off to Hawaii for a week and just enjoy your Mai Tais. The next huge thing to understand is you got to understand your win rate. You need to know your ratios and all that. So again, you need to have an ample back testing window. So the stuff I'm working with right now is about 19 months worth of data. So know that your win rate is where it needs to be. I think with like a 2-to-1 risk to reward, you have to have at least 33% just to break even or something like that. We shoot for, like, as I want to be a day trader, is like on average about 55% win rate. And, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending. But again, with the 2-to-1 risk to reward, that's enough to be profitable. And the way that we are profitable is through position sizing. On the dashboard of the TRI site, Casper built a little widget that's on there. And then there's also a little website link that he has as well. So if you're not sure about how to, do position sizing or what it is, it essentially for any trade, wherever you enter and your stop is going to be set based on, for me, that's going to be based on structure, either candle patterns or M's or W's. You put your entry and your stop, and then how much, let's say for this trade, I want to risk only $50 per trade to keep it standardized and consistent. This position sizing tool will get you that. And then also understand the drawdowns, and what that's going to be is that's going to be like the losses in a row that are, again, this goes back to the back testing to give you this information. So I think with mine, it was like 4 or 5 was the consecutive losses in a row. So let's say that it's 5 and each trade risks $50. So that's $250 is my drawdown scenario, right? Worst case scenario, at least using backtest data. And then also understand that when I win in a row, it was up to 9 in a row. So it's like, well, it risks 50, but then to make 100, right? So you just need to know what those numbers are so that and another thing with this is past results do not dictate, future results, I suppose, or however that saying goes. But, it gives us a good idea of what to expect, but there's no guarantees that what's happened in the past is going to happen in the future. So just something to keep in mind, right? And then again, just have the expectation that getting all of this, at least in Pine, to execute exactly as we would be trading it manually, because humans are so complex and there's so faceted with there's a lot of different variables and things that come into play that we don't even think about, we just do. But to get that code to do exactly what we would do manually is like, the holy grail. So if you get to that point, pat yourself on the back. Yeah, so read the manual, read it again and again. All the information you're going to need to know about PineScript in there. In IT, we say RTFN or RTFM, sorry. You could, not read the freaking manual, but you get it. And just go slow. Really be honest with yourself on, the whole fear and greed stuff. If we need to manage our expectations again. So if we do that, then we're more likely to achieve the goals that we're trying to accomplish here. So we just need to be honest with ourselves. That was definitely an area that in the beginning I saw like, oh, this could be a huge trap for me. So I went real slow and navigated that appropriately. And then again, without a solid foundation and education, running a small business of trading, this is going to be probably really dangerous if you go down this route. So again, I'll just wave the red flag and of hesitation there. Just be careful, and then just be patient and persistent, and just keep pushing through, and eventually just keep making progress. And that's kind of been, my experience anyway with it. What I will do is I'll show you just a couple things with the data window. So it's not the watch list, not the alerts, but it's the third one here, data window. So it'll show you date and time, shows you information about the actual asset we're looking at. But then here's my indicator. It's this Stone Cold Day Trader model. Duke of Ronaville is this one. Kind of shows all the info in it, shows the trade size, all this stuff. So if I wanted to know, or if I'm troubleshooting something like, oh, where's that long trailing stop at? Like, what's the exact level? It's like, okay, 11 grand, 740 and 40 cents. So this is that. I mean, and as you can see, lots of information in here potentially. This is a more, I think there's like 1,000 lines of code in this script. So if it's something like an RSI, it's going to be a lot less. Let's see. One thing I will show you is I get a lot of questions about alerts and how to create. So if there's alert conditions built into the script, what we can do is we come to the alerts, we click the set alert, which is, is a little plus icon there. And then what it'll do is it'll bring up the condition. Now, if we have an alert in a script, we need to not choose the asset we're looking at, but actually the script itself. And then for mine anyway, I have them all labeled as such. There's 12 of them. So it's an entry buy, entry sell, all the various long closes and all the various short closes. Different scripts will have different things written in here, but so let's say I wanted to create a new entry buy. The way that I do it is I actually change this to be once per bar, and then when integrating with AutoView, you need it. There's a specific syntax. I'm not going to get into that here, but anyway, just be aware that that is there. But we have a lot of options. One, you do want it to be open-ended if this is going to be some sort of automated trading thing or an alert that you're going to regularly want. Like, let's say if you want to put an alert on RSI being oversold and just leave it kind of open-ended, so whenever it goes oversold, it notifies you, sends you an email, and there's also some other options here with webhooks and stuff. I think this is what Sana's Kairos uses as well. And if you guys haven't checked out the Kairos stuff that he's done, I think he put a bunch of how-to videos as well somewhat recently. I haven't had a chance to dig through them, but I know that's a very robust platform that he's been working on for a long time. So anyway, when you have all this here, hit create, and then for me, I got 11 more of them to create. But in any case, that's this was kind of confusing in the very beginning and took me a little bit to kind of fuddle through it and get it the way that I needed it to work, right? Yeah, so the only thing I'll kind of leave off on is if you're interested and you've been through the level 2 program, I'd start with the DI, go through all that code, dissect it, break it, fix it, or you can start with something like, I'm just going to encourage you to start simple, like, the Willy code, or I wanted to build an RSI, but actually visually change the way it looks to show to kind of give the look and feel of like a MACD histogram. So to get an idea of how much code something like this takes, it's not really a lot, only 26 lines. A lot of them are empty as well. So versus full blown, algos upwards of 1,000 lines of code. So there's considerable difference there, but overall it's all the same. You start off with the version. This is a requirement here. Then we have the study function. And again, this could either be study or strategy, and that defines that. Yeah, and then we have the various inputs, variables, logic section, and then the plot and display part we talked about. And then if anybody is super, super brand new, I'll show you how you would drop this into a new chart. So what you would do is you would copy the entire code. So you can go to TradingView. From TradingView, you could go to scripts and just look at the top scripts and just literally copy and paste all of this here. You could also add it to favorite scripts and add it that way, but I get a lot of questions from newer people about this. So once you have the code copied, you'd come down here to Pine Editor and then just delete everything, paste it in, and add the chart. And voila, we have our indicator onto the chart. And then to get rid of it, you just X out. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot them out, but hopefully it gives you a good overview. And if you're already familiar with programming, hopefully there's a couple valuable takeaways there.
Cool. Nice presentation, man.
Thanks.
Good stuff. I think it's probably in everybody's best interest to at least understand the basics of PineScript. Can always go and just fiddle around with like the typical indicators we use and just get a better idea how it works. And I think this is a pretty good introduction.
That's a really good jumping off point for sure. And then you get to know some of the inner workings. And one of the things I would do is, and Brian's a big fan of the Investopedia site, but if you go on to Investopedia or read any of the books that we've read through the education program to actually understand how these indicators are calculated, that's actually kind of knowing those little details can help in the long run for sure.
Totally. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. You've been like such a cool person to watch develop over the last few years around here. You just have like such an awesome work ethic, man. I really appreciate it. You're just like one of the dudes that's come in here and just done the work every day. And
yeah, that's the secret, is hard work, right?
Yeah.
And just not getting frustrated, because this stuff can be, it is frustrating and can get you down if you have not, again, if you don't have a PMA attitude kind of 24/7, you're it's like an uphill battle. But with the right attitude, just keep cracking away at it, and you'll eventually get there. Even and I'm not the smartest person, so I just know that I have to just meet it with like extra effort, and that's just how I've been with everything in my life, really. So that's the secret. It's hard work.
Nice. Well, good job, man. I guess it's 5 minutes after the hour, so I think this is a good stopping point. What a cool presentation from both of you guys. It's kind of fun to just jump into the tech side of this stuff a little bit more. I'm really excited about the screeners on the site. I think that's just going to be life changing for a lot of us. So can't wait to really dive into those more and actually get screeners working for my trading plan. But other than that, let's see. I think this week, of course, Brian's going to be off all week, so it's just going to be us. There's a bunch of guests coming on. Tomorrow, I'll be talking about stocks and crypto or whatever, and we might have a guest tomorrow. I'm not confirmed on anybody yet. But then let's see. Wednesday, we have Kieran and David Eisner coming on, and then Thursday will be Julian's baby powder report. And then Friday, let's see here. Friday's going to be, Friday's not 100% confirmed yet. I know Cave Bear is coming on, and possibly Jamie, unless Jamie does next Monday instead. So we'll see about that. It's not 100% confirmed. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a good week. We'll do our best to do Brian some justice and, bring some value for you guys. And hopefully he's having a good week face down in a ditch somewhere. But we'll see him back on Sunday for the Broiler Chicken Show. He'll be back. So I guess you want to take us out, Joshua? You still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. Well, the only thing left for us to say is
bye for now.
awesome.